Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's hearing. Our first panel features Emil Bovee, nominated to the U.S. Court of Appeals, Third Circuit. Then on panel 2, we'll hear from 4 district court nominees: Ann Lee Gaylord Mole, Kyle Dudek, Jordan Pratt, each nominated for the Middle District of Florida, and Edward Archall, nominated to the Southern District of Florida. Before we begin, I'd like to address a few matters up front that will likely come up today. First, Mr. Bovee has been the subject of an intense opposition campaign by my Democratic colleagues and by their media allies. While it's fair to criticize a nominee, I think that this committee owes this nominee a fair shake and respect at this hearing. This is hardly the first time this Congress that we've come into a nomination hearing against a backdrop of breathless claims that one of President Trump's nominees is uniquely unqualified or unfit. Notwithstanding the noise, this committee gave those nominees a fair hearing, weighed their qualifications, and ultimately considered them on their merits, not on media portrayals. This committee will do the same thing for Mr. Bovee. Second, as a senior attorney in the executive branch and as a former attorney in private practice, Mr. Bovee may be bound by recognized privileges such as executive privilege, deliberative process privilege, and attorney-client privilege. This committee will respect those protections, not as a courtesy, but because the law demands it. Third, I'd like to note that some of the rhetoric aimed at Mr. Bovee by the media and even by members of this committee has crossed the line. One member of this committee called Mr. Bovee, quote, coward and a fool, end of quote. This sort of language, this sort of personal tact is just not appropriate and cheapens the process. I'd like to admonish my colleagues to follow Senator Welch's advice from last week's hearing not to, quote, turn debate into personal accusations of motivations, of cover-up, of conspiracy, of bad character, of demeaning folks who disagree with us. We will get nowhere with that approach, end of quote, common sense coming from Senator Welch. Turning every nominee into a political punching bag isn't advice and consent. It's smear and obstruct, and that's not a distortion of the constitutional design. It is a distortion. Now, if my Democrat colleagues want to talk qualifications, let us not forget the nominees that they rubber stamped during President Biden's administration. I want to start with Charnel Bykengren, who came before this committee with absolutely no federal court experience and couldn't answer a basic constitutional question. Even the press said it was a disaster, but she received the support of each member of my Democrat colleagues. Or Nancy Albadoon, nominated to the 11th Circuit. Her background with a group that labeled Republican senators quote unquote white supremacists, made her one of the most divisive nominees we've ever seen. She received the support of every one of my Democrat colleagues. Then there is Cato Cruz, a magistrate judge who didn't know what a Brady motion was, even though, as a sitting judge, had a legal obligation to inform parties of their obligations under Brady versus Maryland. He also received the support of every one of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. These aren't cherry-picked examples. They're part of a pattern. The Biden White House repeatedly sent us nominees who lacked the experience traditionally given for lifetime appointments, and my colleagues voted to confirm them. Now let's compare those nominees to Mr. Bovee. I have the privilege of introducing him this morning, so I'd like to take a moment to highlight his background. Mr. Bovee graduated summa cum laude, Georgetown Law, earning orders of the coif at the top of his class. He also graduated magna cum laude with a 4.0 GPA from the State University of New York at Albany. He clerked for Judge Westley of the Second Circuit and Judge Sullivan of the Southern District of New York, both well-respected jurists. Mr. Bovee spent nearly a decade as a federal prosecutor, taking on national security and narcotics cases. This high-stakes work demands sharp legal judgment and steady resolve. Day in and day out, he was in the trenches, putting terrorists and drug traffickers behind bars. He helped bring the Chelsea bomber to justice, the same terrorist who planted bombs across North Carolina and New York, injured dozens of Americans, and shot New Jersey police officers before he was captured. Mr. Bovee wasn't just reading reports. He was on the ground at the FBI's Joint Operations Center when the attacks happened, and he jumped to action and helped secure a conviction and a life sentence. For that work, he rightly earned one of DOJ's highest honors, the Director's Award for Superior Performance by a litigative team. Mr. Bovee also led the prosecution of Caesar Syhak, the domestic terrorist who mailed 16 bombs intending to kill prominent Democrats, including Senator Booker, President Biden, Secretary Clinton, Vice President Harris, and others. Mr. Bovee also prosecuted another pipe bomb terrorist, a Hezbollah operative, and an FBI employee accused of spying for China. Now, these are not theoretical threats. These are real national security cases, and Mr. Bovee took them head on. Mr. Bovee's colleagues praised his tenacity, his legal skill, and his principled commitment to the rule of law. And it's not just words. 36 former senior Justice Department employees and 20 state attorneys general have sent letters supporting his nomination. They know firsthand what kind of a lawyer and a public servant Mr. Bovee is. But his excellent credentials do not end there. In private practice, he represented clients at all levels of the federal court, including briefings before the Supreme Court, and now he's in one of the most senior legal roles in the Justice Department. Put very simply, Mr. Bovee checks every box: academic distinction, federal clerkships, complex trial and appellate litigation, senior Justice Department leadership. His experience isn't just sufficient, it is very exceptional. He's also served the people of the 3rd District, both as a federal prosecutor prosecuting their safety and in private practice representing their interests. He lives in the circuit. He's practiced in the circuit. I've heard complaints about the lack of consultation, but let's set the record straight. I've been informed that since February, the White House has consulted with my colleagues from New Jersey. The White House interviewed or attempted to interview all of their suggested candidates, some of whom didn't want the job. The White House also ensured that my colleagues from New Jersey had the opportunity to meet personally with Mr. Bovee. And even when consultation happens in good faith, as it did here, opposition doesn't automatically carry a veto. The committee's recent practice makes that clear, that home state opposition doesn't disqualify a nominee. And let me give you some recent reminder of that. Just look at what happened with the 6th Circuit last year. Every Democrat on the committee voted to advance Kevin Ritz, even after allegations and evidence of prosecutorial misconduct surfaced. This happened over the objections of both home state senators from Tennessee. There have been several others as well. Embry Kidd in the 11th Circuit, opposed by Florida senators. Carla Campbell to the 6th Circuit, opposed by the Tennessee senators. And Ryan Park to the 1st Circuit, opposed by North Carolina senators. Which brings me to another point. Let's not pretend that nominees with ties to the president are somehow suspect. The Biden administration didn't hesitate to nominate vocal partisans like Dale Ho, who attacked Republicans and dismissed conservative legal thought entirely. If Democrats could look past that, they can give Mr. Bovee a fair hearing. Once again, we see a double standard. The qualifications of President Trump's nominees are ignored by the same voices who rushed to confirm less qualified and often overtly partisan nominees during the last 4 years. It's time to hold everybody to the very same standard. The breadth of support Mr. Bovee has earned from the legal community affirms what his record makes clear. He has a deep command of the law and a steady commitment to public service, not political agendas. He's ready to serve on the 3rd Circuit with distinction. Our district court nominees are also highly qualified, and we look forward to hearing from each of them today. So now to Senator Durbin, Ranking Member.
Thank you, Chairman Grassley, and congratulations to the nominee.